The Galactic Council had made their decision with unanimous certainty. Sector 47 Gamma was off limits. The stargates leading to the mysterious region were sealed with quantum locks, and the most elite Zephyrian Guard units were stationed at every possible entry point. Warning beacons broadcasted in 17 different languages, including the primitive Earth dialect, declaring the sector a forbidden zone. Commander Vexathul of the Zephyrian Guard reviewed the security protocols for the 100th time that cycle. The insectoid being's compound eyes reflected the holographic displays showing perfect containment. Every approach vector was monitored, every hyperspace lane patrolled. Nothing could enter Sector 47 Gamma without the Council's knowledge. "Sir," chittered his subordinate, Lieutenant Krixtall, "we're receiving reports of unusual energy signatures from the outer rim sensors." Vexathul's mandibles clicked in annoyance. "Asteroid collision with a communications relay, most likely. Have a patrol squadron investigate." What neither of them knew was that Captain Sarah Chen was already 3 days deep into Sector 47 Gamma, her modified mining vessel Persistence drifting silently through the asteroid field that supposedly marked the sector's impenetrable boundary. Sarah had spent 2 years studying the Galactic Council's security patterns, not from any official database, but from the stories told in dingy spaceport bars by traders who'd tested the boundaries and lived to drink about it. The Council thought in terms of established routes, marked hyperspace lanes, and regulated stargates. They had never considered that humans might simply walk. The Persistence had been her grandfather's ship, built for the long haul between asteroid mining claims in humanity's early expansion period. It wasn't fast, wasn't pretty, and certainly wasn't equipped with any of the advanced navigation systems the Council species relied upon. But it could run silent, process its own air and water indefinitely, and most importantly, it could navigate by the ancient human method of dead reckoning. While the galaxy's civilizations had grown dependent on the Stargate network and standardized hyperspace beacons, humans had never quite abandoned their old ways. Sarah's ship carried star charts based on visual navigation, gravitational mapping, and the kind of stubborn mathematical calculations that had gotten humanity to the stars in the first place. 3 days ago, she had simply pointed her ship at the dark space between the Council's patrol routes and started walking, the spacer's term for the slow, methodical journey through normal space that predated faster-than-light travel. Now, as she entered the sector proper, Sarah began to understand why the Council had been so adamant about keeping everyone out. Floating in the void before her was a structure that defied classification. It wasn't a ship, wasn't a station, and certainly wasn't natural. The thing was massive, easily the size of Earth's moon, and it pulsed with a soft, rhythmic light that seemed to follow no known spectrum. Strange geometric patterns covered its surface, shifting and changing as she watched. "Well, I'll be damned," Sarah muttered, adjusting her sensor array for a closer look. The readings made no sense. The structure appeared to be generating its own space-time distortions, creating localized gravity wells that should have torn it apart centuries ago. As she drew closer, her communications array crackled to life with a signal unlike anything in the galactic databases. It wasn't the structured mathematical progression the Council species used for first contact, nor was it the binary simplicity favored by AI civilizations. This was something organic, complex, and hauntingly familiar. It was music. Sarah had studied xenoarchaeology before becoming a freelance explorer, and she recognized the telltale signs of a precursor artifact. The galaxy was littered with the ruins of civilizations that had transcended physical existence millions of years ago, leaving behind technology that current species could barely comprehend, let alone replicate. The Council hadn't sealed this sector to protect others from some terrible danger. They'd sealed it to keep this discovery for themselves. Over the next several hours, Sarah documented everything her instruments could detect. The structure's energy output suggested it was still active, possibly even inhabited. The musical transmissions grew more complex as her ship approached, developing harmonies and rhythmic patterns that spoke of genuine intelligence. It was then that her proximity alarm screamed a warning. 3 Zephyrian patrol ships had somehow traced her path and were closing fast. "Unknown vessel," came the transmission in heavily accented standard. "You are in violation of Galactic Council Directive 2847. Shut down your engines and prepare to be boarded." Sarah looked at her instrument readings, then at the ancient structure still pulsing with its mysterious music, and made a decision that would have horrified any Council bureaucrat. She opened a broadcast channel on all frequencies. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of Earth. To any ship receiving this transmission, I am currently in Sector 47 Gamma, which the Galactic Council has declared off limits. I am here to document a precursor artifact of significant archaeological importance, which appears to be the real reason for the sector prohibition." She began transmitting her sensor data, visual recordings and audio samples of the alien music to every corner of the galaxy she could reach. "The Council has sealed this sector not to protect us from danger, but to monopolize first contact with what may be the galaxy's oldest surviving civilization. I call upon all species to demand transparency and shared access to this discovery." The lead Zephyrian ship fired a warning shot across her bow. "Cease transmission immediately. You are interfering with classified Council operations." "Too late." Sarah grinned, watching her transmission counter tick higher as automated relay stations picked up and rebroadcast her signal across the galactic network. The cat's out of the bag now. As Zephyrian boarding parties prepared to take her ship, Sarah Chen sat back in her pilot's chair and listened to the alien music growing stronger. She had done what humans had always done best. She had walked where others feared to tread, asked the questions others were afraid to ask, and shared the answers with anyone willing to listen. The stargates had been sealed and guards posted, but humans had walked the unmarked paths anyway. They always did. Within hours, ships from a dozen different species were converging on Sector 47 Gamma, and the Galactic Council found themselves explaining why they had tried to hide the greatest archaeological discovery in galactic history. The music from the ancient structure continued to play, as if welcoming the galaxy to finally listen.